2 weeks in Maui should have been the perfect reset. Sun on my face, drinks in my hand, not a care in the world. And for a while it was. But the second my Uber rolled up to 1247 Oakdale Avenue, I knew something was off. My quiet, respectable street looked like a circus rolled through. Cars lined up bumper to bumper. People on my lawn like they were tailgating a football game. And then I saw it, bidding paddles. Actual bidding paddles, being waved around like we were at Sotheby's, except it was my house on the block. Now, I'm standing there in a Hawaiian shirt, tan lines still fresh, dragging a sand-dusted suitcase behind me. When I spot her, Betty Drixie, my next-door neighbor, human Facebook group, full-time HOA vigilante, up on my porch with a clipboard and a voice loud enough to be heard 2 streets over. "Do I hear 45,000? She chirped, like she was hosting an infomercial. This beautiful ranch-style home comes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a recently renovated kitchen. I had to blink. Hard. Was I still in a tropical daze? No. I was witnessing my neighbor trying to sell my damn house. I started walking up, flip-flops, slapping the concrete like applause for the absurdity. And I swear I heard her say, "The previous owner won't be returning," with a dramatic little pause like she was narrating a crime podcast. "Lady, I'm the previous owner. Still alive. Still tan. Still paying the mortgage." "Excuse me?" I called out. Betty's head whipped around like I'd stepped out of a portal. She looked at me like I was the one trespassing. "Sir, this is a private auction," she said, like I'd interrupted her TED Talk. "You need to register and provide proof of funds if you want to bid." The level of delusion was impressive. So I said calmly, "Betty, I own this house." The murmurs started, that delicious tension neighbors live for. Betty's face twitched, but she didn't back down. "This property's been abandoned," she snapped. "You disappeared." I followed legal procedures. "Betty," I said, still calm, "I told you I was going to Hawaii. You asked me to bring you back macadamia nuts. You literally said, 'Have fun with the hula girls.'" "Terry." Her eyes twitched like the memory had just sucker-punched her pride. "Still," she said, "you can't just leave a house unattended. There are neighborhood standards." I pulled out my phone, started recording. "Folks, just to be clear, I'm Terrence Armaz, and this is my house. Deed, mortgage, bills, all in my name." That's when things got spicy. Betty started screaming about how she had legal claims, how this was adverse possession, how she was just doing her civic duty. "Betty," I said, switching from friendly neighbor to fully barred attorney. "Adverse possession takes 7 years of continuous occupation, not 2 weeks of me drinking my ties and sending you postcards." The crowd was loving it. Bob from the hardware store slowly lowered his paddle. Mrs. Chun pulled out a folding chair. This was better than TV. I unlocked the door, walked in like I never left because, well, I hadn't. Betty followed, huffing like she was walking into a crime scene. Inside, my place was untouched, aside from the usual dust and mail pile. On the wall, my Harvard law diploma, staring her in the face like divine judgment. "Let me explain something," I said, settling into my chair. "I'm not just calling a lawyer. I am the lawyer. 15 years in property and civil law. You really want to go down this road?" She blinked but kept digging, claimed she was covering administrative costs and doing the neighborhood a favor. Lady tried to monetize my vacation. Then came the kicker. She threatened to call the police. "You're harassing me," she screamed, already dialing 911. So I said loud and clear, "Dispatch. This is Terrence Armaz. I live at 1247 Oakdale. I have full documentation and a video of my neighbor attempting to auction off my home while I was on vacation." She glared. "Don't listen to him. He's not even from around here." And there it was. Her tone shifted. She started throwing around vague code words. People like him, neighborhood standards. All the passive-aggressive suburban racism she could muster, like the words were slipping past her filter before she could catch them. When the cops arrived, I stepped onto the porch with my documents in hand, like I was presenting a thesis. Officer Martinez recognized me from neighborhood meetings. Officer Rodriguez did not look amused. Betty ran up to them screaming about threats and squatters. I handed them my ID, mortgage papers, even my airport selfie with the Hawaii sign. "Ma'am," Officer Rodriguez said, Adverse possession requires years of occupation. You can't sell someone's house just because they're on vacation. But I thought, Betty started. You thought wrong. Officer Martinez cut in. And you collected money? Just registration fees, she barked. Ma'am, that's fraud, Officer Rodriguez said, snapping her notepad closed. Betty lost it. This is discrimination. You're only siding with him because... And then she stopped. Too late. The crowd gasped. Phones were recording. Officer Martinez didn't flinch. No, ma'am. We're siding with him because he owns the house and you tried to steal it. The meltdown continued. She ranted about people like me, about the good old days, about how she was the victim. It was embarrassing. By the time she stormed off, the entire block had seen her unhinged mask fall off completely. And me? I called a detective the next day. Turns out, multiple neighbors had already reported her. She collected over $300 in fees and was facing potential charges for fraud, attempted theft, trespassing, and more. Her lawyer, poor guy, showed up at my house offering $5,000 and an apology. I laughed. You try to steal a $420,000 house, and you're offering me a weekend getaway. Eventually, I gave her two choices. Pay $25,000, move out in 6 months, or go to court. She chose court. Bad idea. At trial, she took the stand and, bless her, tried to say she didn't believe I'd actually gone to Hawaii, even though she asked for nuts. Then she let it slip. People like him don't take trips like that. Everyone in court went still. The judge saw right through her. You try to sell your neighbor's house based on ignorance and prejudice, she said. You're guilty on all counts. Betty got community service, restitution, and a restraining order. But the worst punishment? The neighborhood knew exactly who she was now. 6 months later, a moving truck rolled up. Betty didn't look at me, but I saw her glance. That bitter mix of hate and humiliation. And me? I opened my laptop and started planning my next vacation. Scotland sounds nice. You tell me, what would you have done if your neighbor tried to steal your house while you were sipping pina coladas on a beach? Drop your thoughts below, and let's talk about justice, entitlement, and how far is too far when it comes to protecting a neighborhood.